Hello everyone, I think this is working now. My name is Peter Richardson. I'm, along with my colleague Jen Birch, coordinator of the Symposium at the festival. And it's my honour and pleasure to introduce the panel for this session. On my left I have Alson Kelen, who's the director of Waan Aelõñ Kein, which translates as Canoes of the Marshall Islands, and which we'll probably call WAM during this meeting. Alson has been involved for decades in traditional voyaging and the building of traditional craft in the Marshall Islands. He started by documenting the traditional canoes of the Marshall Islands, and for those that are aficionados of this subject, you'll know that they're amongst the most highly developed sailing canoes in the Pacific and some of the fastest. He produced manuals on those canoes in both Marshallese and English, and for a long time, I'm not sure from what date, he's been director of Waan Aelõñ Kein. When did you start, Alson?
I actually started in 1998. Before that, but that's when the program was officially started, because it's an NGO. So it was officially started as an NGO in 1998.
And Alson has held many other roles in the Marshall Islands. He's been mayor of an atoll. He is involved with an initiative at the moment to decarbonise transport in the Marshall Islands, which is something that the Marshall Islands is really a leader in the region and probably the world in that area. And he's been involved with the Nuclear Commission in the Marshall Islands and so on. So he wears many hats, and we'll touch on some of those roles during this conversation. To my right is Hoturoa Barclay. Hoturoa is the captain of several voyaging waka. I've lost count of how many he commands and plans to build. I'm a little disappointed he didn't arrive here on one of them, but I think that was only a question of timing. He's the holder of mātauranga whakatere waka, I hope I got that right, traditional sailing knowledge, waka voyaging knowledge. He's an orator on his home marae of Kawhia, which is the landing place of his ancestral waka, the Haunui, which was captained by his ancestor with the same name, Hoturoa. So he comes from a distinguished line of Maori navigators. So it's an honour, I think, for us to have these two incredibly experienced people here to talk. We're going to focus on the role of canoes, navigation, sailing in social development in these communities. But I think probably most of us here don't know very much about the Marshall Islands and perhaps don't know much about Maori culture or Maori communities in New Zealand. So I'd like each of the panel to just briefly describe the communities that they come from and that they work within. Can we start with you, Alson?
Yeah, so for this week, a lot of people ask me where the Marshall Island is. So some says, yeah, we heard of it, but we don't know where it is. So Marshall Island is southwest of the Hawaiian Islands, which is only a 4-hour flight from the Hawaiian Islands. And we're affiliated with the United States under a compact of association. I don't know if that makes it sound better at the moment. But the islands, we have about 1,200 islands and islets within the Marshall Islands. And so the whole country is about 1/3 Australia. So just kind of give you a picture of how big the islands is. But it's 99% ocean and 1% land. So all those 1,200 islets are scattered within that. So that shows that canoeing is part of our life.
Hotu.
Well, I come from a little place called Kawhia, and the same thing happens. Like we just heard people go, "Where's Kawhia?" Because it's just a little small coastal town, harbour town where my ancestors sailed in and settled, and there's about 450 people who live there full time. And when I'm not there, we're lucky because we've got a really cool relationship with the New Zealand Maritime Museum in Auckland. So I keep a waka in Kawhia, but I also have a waka up at the Maritime Museum, and we do a whole lot of stuff, like with all our little, you've seen us all down in the tent and things like that as well. But so we kind of travel between Auckland and Kawhia, which is about a 2-hour drive, but it's about an 8-day sail. That's because you got to sail right around the top of the North Island and then down the west coast to where we are. But what I like about Kawhia is that around the whole harbour we've got about 4 schools, and we're able to bring a lot of things and experiences to these kids that they can't get anywhere else, because they sort of don't have budgets to go anywhere. But we can do things around the harbour with them. It makes a big difference. And they're not big schools. One school's got about 32 children. That's the big school. And another school's got about 18. Another one's got 11, and one's got 7. And so being in a small community is really, really, I really like doing that. But I like I work in Auckland too, because that's the kind of stuff that helps get our story out to lots and lots more people.
Thank you. Let's now talk about the role of canoes traditionally in your communities. We've already talked about the fact that you can trace your ancestry directly to one of the ancestral waka that arrived from Hawaii. Starting with you, Hotu, what's the role of canoes in your community traditionally and in your identity, I guess?
I guess I wrote something about this actually. When I did my master's thesis, I wrote about waka as a symbol of mana. Mana is, I suppose an easy way to just explain that is, it's a word that describes your importance, or how your authority, your self, the way other people look at you. And so in the more recent traditional canoe forms, big carved war canoes really showed the strength and the power, the mana of your tribal group, of your family. And so what happened is that, and you'll see them in all our museums around New Zealand, all these big carved canoes, and which really were symbols of the strength and the wealth and the knowledge and the skill of your people. And so for us, at that time, that's what these big carved canoes did. But another way that it enhances that mana are the stories of how our ancestors came from across the ocean, and they came on waka. And so when we talk about waka in a distant tradition, those are the kind of things that make us feel pretty good as well. They talk about how these ancestors of ours travelled so far across the ocean, 1,800 miles, to find a new land. And those are the kind of things that make us feel pretty good about ourselves.
So it's core, really, to Maori identity. Yeah. What about you, Alson? And we've got a photo, I should say, up here on the left. I forget what the type is. There's 3 types, I think, of canoe in the Marshall Islands, basically.
Yes. So
tell us about the role of canoes in Marshallese society.
well, we call ourselves Remeto. That means ocean people. So being an ocean person or community, the canoes is a very important tool. A lot of people would say, well, so it's great that you have the canoes. Can you, they want to be part of it. But for us, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not an interesting thing, but it's like for us, it's like a knife in the kitchen is necessary, or socks to the shoes. So we don't think about it like a big thing. We think about it as us. We are remeto, and this is a tool for the ocean for us to survive. And of course, nowadays it's changing a little bit because there are more and more canoe builders who want to build more modern type canoes with more modern type materials, so more advanced. But at the end of the day, we are remeto, and anything that floats in the ocean, that's part of us.
I believe there's a well-known Marshallese proverb that talks about the importance of not turning away from your canoe because it shows you a path in life. Is that right? And can you tell us a little bit about what that suggests?
Well, that pretty much says that, don't turn away from the canoes because the canoes is your life. So that's the shortest part, translation of it. And as I say, we're remeto, we're ocean people, and the canoes is part of that ocean, and we are one.
Would you like to take us through your presentation and just give us a bit more of a sense of...
Okay, I'm going to do a little speedy one. Yep. So this presentation is about the canoe program that I'm running back home. And it was set up, so if I have 3 hours, I can use it for 3 hours or 3 minutes, and I can... So obviously, this is the wallop, the voyaging canoe, and this is the stick compass. So they go all together. So, well, here it is.
What do the lines represent on that stick compass, Alson?
So these lines represent swells. These are the swells, the north, south, east, west swells. So when you memorize the swells, which of course, the swells are kind of, you memorize this stick, and when you go out the ocean, it's a totally different world. But you have to also know the feeling of the swells, north, south, east, west swells that come in and kind of show you, in the Polynesian countries, a lot of them use the stars. We do use the stars, but not all the stars. But we use the swell, and the swell shows the 4 points on a compass. So this is a compass, but then you also learn the reflection of the waves that hit the islands and come back that shows you where you're going. But part of it is there's another stick chart, is the compass, is actually the map. So you memorize the map. It's a bird's eye view of a map, and you kind of picture the swells on it and the reflection, and it kind of shows you how to go to wherever you want to go. So far, we've been lucky, no lost yet. And of course, I talk about the Marshall Islands. This is where, next to the Federal Strait of Micronesia, it's our flag. So when we talk about Marshall Island, a lot of people think that is, the first thing come to mind is the mountain, like Hawaiian Island, Fiji. But these are actually all atolls. So that's why it's 1,200. And if you need anything, you have to go from here to here to buy food, or from here to here to get fire logs. And so the vessel is very needed in our daily life. And of course, this is a canoe that we built. The kids, actually, I'm too lazy to build now, so the kids build a canoe. And this is actually in the lagoon of Bikini Atoll, because we believe that the canoe was invented on Bikini Atoll. So we've been teaching the young people, and it's kind of like a ceremonial thing. We took back the canoe to thank the canoe spirit. The life of the people in Marshall is usually based on coconut. They're making copra oil and fish, and this is their like a daily family transport. And they all always work together because it's the country. I mean, the communities are so small, so everybody works together. Whether you're building a house or building a canoe, it's always all men on deck. So there's no men's house. Every house is everybody's house. Women, children, men, we all work together. There's no such thing as double in places. So in the late 80s to early 90s, we actually went out from island to island to document the construction of canoes and the culture around the canoes. Just in case they get lost in the future, we have it all documented. And from there, we were able to also write trainers, manuals and that kind of stuff for this canoe alone. So when we went out, we went to different atolls. We didn't just document the construction of canoes, but we also did some studies to kind of encourage people to build canoes, studies on fish catch, comparison of motorboats and canoes in a lot of the places where people were kind of curious about the value of what you get fishing on a canoe and what you get fishing on a motorboat. And with that, all those documents, we were able to put together curriculums for our kids. So this is actually 2 voyaging canoes after the wallop that went to the Cook Islands. We actually built these in the school. And this is the one we still have now. This one was asked, one of the chief asked if we can give it to him. So, of course, they own everything, so we just give it to them. And this is the wallop that we have now, and this is the one that I've been using as a documentation vessels to document the knowledge. This is, it was shown on the New York Times magazine. This is us in the middle of the ocean. They were trying to tell us, asking us where we are. So the point of the study is not how to get there, but where the island is, but where you are at different point of the voyage. So this was done years ago. So they kind of shows it shows what we did. We actually used this wallop, and then we put buoys around the islands to study the swells, the reflection of the swells, to compare the traditional to the moderns. My cousin was actually the voyager, the navigator that we work with. I was just a coffee maker on board, and while we were collecting these. And this is John Hoots from Harvard University. He was actually a physicist, and he did all the study with John and the rest of the gang. And you can see this is one of the buoys that we put around the island to study the navigation. With all the knowledge with all the knowledge documented, we started the canoe program. And this is the old school that we had. The building unfortunately burned down, but we were able to build one, and it's almost finished right now. It's a lot bigger, and we have a big traditional maritime museum that we're working on supply. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to bring from Germany, so we can have them around. So one of the challenges in the Marshall is the islands are so narrow, so tree is a big thing to come by. So we do a lot of replantation, and the kids actually, the logs that we're not using for canoe building, they're using for something else. But everywhere you look, it's like sand in the middle of the island. There's really no soil to plant all these trees, so we have to be wise. So when you plant trees, you plant according to what you need. Ocean side, curvature, middle side, straight, lagoon side, bent down. So it's a process all by itself. So we also teach the young people to do that kind of stuff. Of course, and after 10 years, you're like, oh, I want to build a house there. But so this is the program. This is some of the woodworking stuff. I can see we have girls and the young boys, the age of 16 to 24. A lot of these kids, they come in, we get them from the street, and then we get them to the program. We have a special curriculum in the program where we teach literacy, numeracy, science, math, marine biology, and all that stuff through the lens of our traditional knowledge. So they're having fun, not knowing that, like these guys, they're doing all this stuff. They don't know that from point A to point B, that's geometry. And so there's a lot of these things. So when they're finished with their schooling, with our program for 6 months, we would take them to the college. So they take that the course for a young adult. I'm in the adult program, so they can continue with their education. Last year we had 2 kids. Used to be, I all thought that they wouldn't make it, but they actually have a bachelor's degree in education. So from the side of the road through the program, now they have bachelor's degree. And there's thousands of kids have gone through the program. Sometimes we have mother come and say, well, thank you very much. My son have a skinny TV, and I was wondering, what is skinny TV? Flat screen. So and also a lot of these kids were born in the outer islands, so things that we take for granted, like birth certificates, they don't have any. So we have to work with the parents and the hospitals and the court system, so they can have they can have birth certificates. A lot of them don't remember what month, what day, so I use my birth certificate as their birth certificate. My birthday as their birthday. So if you see a lot of kids with March 21st, yeah, they're from here. And then we march them to the Social Security office, so everybody has Social Security, and then to get their ID. And then, of course, we're not experts with a lot of stuff, so we bring volunteers. For example, the general manager of one of the biggest banks in the Marshalls come and be a teacher. How to, save your money, what you need versus what you have, what you want and all that. And then at the end, they have their saving accounts and opened up. Of course, they start with $1. So you can see, this building is our new office now. It's right on the seawall. Now we just got some grants to actually extend it a little bit, but it's with kind of like ramp, so it's good for the shoreline. We're still raising fund to do a lot of stuff, and we make the kids build a building. It's not child labor, but it's part of the training. So when they're finished, there's a pole in the middle. When they're finished, we put paint on their hand and they put it and they write their name. So 20 years from now, they go, hey, I was one of those. So it's just kind of giving that pride. So these documents are actually the documents that we documented for the canoeing culture, canoeing skills. And this is them actually learning these. So they're studying it in class. So most of us in the program, we are a certified behavior counselor, because in order to work with those kids, you need to understand their behavior, you need to understand their language and that kind of stuff. We have male, female counselor. We have Bubu Juma. Bubu means grandma, and Juma means grandfather, because sometimes they look at us as like registered nurse or something, So they want to talk to people that they trust. And of course, we have to follow the child right protection and all those stuff. So these are the guys. So this is just December. We graduated 25 kids. This guy just got his bachelor's degree in education, and he was sleeping on the side of the road when he was younger. Now he's got a bachelor's degree. He's thinking about working on his master now. So we're not just saving the culture, but we're also saving the kids' life, giving them another door of opportunity. We're also part of the sustainable sea transport effort in the Marshall Islands. So you can see these boats, the proa right here, and the catamaran with the solar panels. One of the richest country in the world with two things, sun and wind. So why not? So we're also, because we need these. We send these to the outer islands, and people actually use them. And we're also part of the sustainable sea transport effort for the government. So we're dealing with the inside lagoon with these vessels, and we provide them for the outer islands communities. And of course, we're also helping with this, with the big canoe, the big sailing boat. This one just came in. It's a brand new vessel, all top. It's solar panels, and I think it's about a little bit less than 500-ton vessel, and it's all sail. These are the textbook that we wrote from these. So when the people take these to the outer islands, they get a copy of these. We also teach in class. And this is the president of our country, Hilda Haunui, and this is the ambassador from Germany to the Pacific Islands. They came in when we launched this thing. So we're now working on a curriculum for the classroom, and you can see these are kids from the elementary school. And of course, this is my wife, so I just had to put a picture, otherwise she'd kick me out of the house. But yeah, so they're learning. These are third grader. And when they're finished, they're all outside with little canoes. They're sailing, like a little competition. These kids are adopted kids in the U.S. These are adopted by American parents. So we don't want to disconnect them from the Marshallese culture. So every July, I go to the U.S. and teach all these little kids. They don't know how to speak Marshallese, so we have to make sure that they have that kind of tradition in their system. And of course, our community involvement, we do canoe races, as I mentioned earlier. So these are some of the canoe races that we have on the canoe models, and we bring all the kids. They either come to our program or we go to the schools to make sure that it continues. And we've built canoes. This is Dubai, this is Hawaii, this is Geneva Lakes, and of course, all this is Netherlands and Germany, these places. We want to continue to build those things out there so people can see it and say, wow, let's help them out. But we build also, this is Taiwan. We also built a canoe in Shanghai, China. So we like to think of ourselves as peacekeeper. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alson.